And we're live. Welcome to the Best Phone Plans Podcast. It is episode 36. Today is a momentous day. It's the first podcast going live for Patreon exclusives only. And it's being reported on Tuesday, the 30th at 7:30 Eastern Time.
So we're actually live for Patreon supporters. We got Left On For Ya and Thomas in the chat right now. So welcome, you guys. Dennis and I are working on planning these out. So thank you for joining spontaneously on your Tuesday evening. And Dennis, we've got a great show planned out for both live listeners and for anyone catching this when it's uploaded to YouTube. What are the main topics for today's show?
Yeah, so today is going to be fun. We're going to be talking about Apple's iPhone 13 rumors. We're going to also be talking about iOS 15. And lastly, a little bit of like Stetson's wish list, Stetson and Dennis wish list for the iPhone 13 and iOS 15 as a whole.
Right on. So I think, wow, Dennis, we should probably just dive right into this with the iPhone 13 rumors. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
So iPhone 13, classic. It's every September, Apple comes out with a new iPhone. This year, I think the headlines have blown it up as iPhone 13 just because they know that's how people count. You go 12 and then you go 13. But Dennis, as we know, tech enthusiasts, that is not how Apple counts. They go phone number and then they go S and then they go up, right? So the iPhone 6S, they actually skipped that with 7S. They went straight to 8, but they had like 10S, 10R. Now
I think they'll call it 12S because I think they're going to want to skip 13 because it's an unlucky number in the States.
That's interesting. So yeah, I think it's going to be 12S as well. And we had John Prosser do a full video on that during the middle of the tech news drought, so to speak. And so I think it will be 12S. I think the media is calling it iPhone 13 because that's what people are searching for. Like if you were to look at search volume for iPhone 13 versus 12S, 13 is through the roof. iPhone 12S is like rock bottom until the new phone comes out and then it'll surge. But yeah, we've got, typically every year Apple updates, I want to say camera's probably number 1, processor number 2, and sometimes there's design changes. So
this will not be a big design change here. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Apple just introduced MagSafe last year, right? So I think we're going to keep MagSafe on this phone. Like, it's going to have basically the same design. Apple is focusing, like when it's an S year, they're doing the polish, right? It's your wax on, wax off year. They are refining their existing design, making it the best it can be. So yeah, what do you think we're going to see, and where do you want to start with this?
Yeah, since you were talking about design, I mean, there is going to be one key change based off the rumors, and it's that ugly notch is supposed to get a little tinier.
Do you think it's ugly? Like, what are your thoughts? Do we need a smaller notch?
Dude, I hate the notch. I hate the notch so much. I would much rather they take that notch space and just make it one seamless bezel across the top.
Yeah, I go back and forth on this all the time, right? Because if you think about it, from a technical perspective, you are losing screen real estate if you don't go with the notch. Like if you go with that black bar, you are technically losing those little ears. We'll call them ears. And I will say, I actually do like on the current iPhone, Apple is throwing up your carrier name and your status icons on the top, right? So you got your signal reception, your Wi-Fi, and your battery. I think it's nice. But to your point, Dennis, it makes everything stand out like a sore thumb. If you go in landscape mode when you're watching a video or something, the notch just, boom, covers everything. And it would be nice if it were smaller.
I mean, dude, when I do landscape on video, I do the little pull-out method, so it shows like the little black bars on the sides.
Yeah, it's better to have bars than to have the notch. That's how bad it is.
Like, yeah, it's real bad. But the thing that's bad is there's certain things where you can't do what I was talking about. And a good example of that would be like a mobile game.
Yeah,
I can't tell you the amount of mobile games that are on the App Store still to this day where they'll just have like a control that's right in the notch area. And so there's just a whole part of it you can't use. And I get that's partially bad on developers or whatever, but like it would just be real nice if the phone had like a semi-standard screen size, like like a ratio, and like I would rather them get rid of the top and just have the whole bar, because then maybe they could fit something else that's really cool up in that corner. Maybe it's a more powerful dual speaker setup.
Yeah,
maybe it's some more powerful Face ID. I don't care what it is, but like either do that or there's already been phones that have been able to do a notchless phone. Like, it's not.
Yeah, but Dennis, you have to remember those phones aren't doing Face ID.
Well, here's the thing, though. They could be notchless and still do Face ID. Like,
So you think make it thicker and then bump the whole screen down?
right?
then,
They
yeah.
could do that, or I was gonna say like you could like some Chinese phones, they were able to like fit like cameras under display. You could do
Okay,
that.
Dennis, if you saw that, you know that's a terrible idea. The camera is garbage. Apple would never do that.
Or I know this is just crazy, but they could just ditch Face ID and do an under the screen fingerprint reader.
Dennis, that's absurd. No one would ever think of making a smartphone that does that. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I mean, genuinely, I am excited about a smaller notch. I mean, I think it would be nice for sure. The one thing, here's my take, Dennis. They keep the notch, but instead of displaying content, like screen content, they do OLED, they black it out, and they make it just like the time and the battery and those indicators, right? Because then you can have extra information displayed there and then have the screen itself perceived to be as more of a regular screen.
I mean, that's already what they kind of do, though.
No, I'm saying like black it out. Like instead of having, wallpaper and content behind that area, you black it out and just put black and white time, battery, signal. I think that's what I would consider doing. But it's
Gotcha.
Apple. We know they won't do that. So I think a smaller notch would be welcomed to the Apple community, and we'll keep holding our breath for possibly a hole punch design. Do you like the hole punch?
I mean, the hole punch, I don't like the hole punch, but it's
Yeah.
it's a lot less offensive. Because I mean, to be clear, I do the same thing on Samsung phones. I still do the pull out thing because the hole punch is bad for watching content.
Yeah.
But the hole punch is also a lot less offensive because, like, well, it depends where the hole punch is on the phone. But if it's in the center, like how Samsung does it,
yeah.
there's not like my time and my notifications are on the left. My signal stuff's on the right. When I drag something down, it's like all the icons, they're coming down below the hole punch. Like, it's not like in the way in the same vein
Samsung,
that,
they kind of blended in with the like top status bar.
yeah.
So
So it's in the way and it's easier for my eyes not to notice. I still don't like it.
yeah,
But it's not as offensive.
I hear what you're saying.
But let's get off that topic. Let us focus on something that I am excited about, which is supposedly going to be confirmed this go around. High refresh rate monitor for iPhone 13.
Finally. What do you think they're going for? Are they doing 120 or are they doing 90?
I mean, rumors say 120. My bet is that Apple does like some type of software-based variable refresh where like the phone detects like what you're doing and will adjust accordingly, because we kind of know that Apple wants to make sure you have good battery life, and Apple is not necessarily the most well known for packing a huge battery in there, so they're probably going to try to optimize with software instead to achieve decent battery.
I agree. So they do this already with their iPad, right? So they call it their Pro Motion display, and it's 120 hertz on the iPad, and it's dynamic, so it'll adjust based on content. If you're watching a video, it'll refresh at 30 because the video is 30 frames per second, or 24. And if you're like swiping around the user interface, it'll bump back up to 120, so you're getting that buttery smooth experience. And Dennis, I think you're right. Apple will make it automatically change based on what you're doing. And I also have heard they might use the same technology in the Apple Watch, an LTPO display, and that can variably refresh all the way down to 1 hertz refresh on the Apple Watch.
Yeah, but on an Apple Watch, I don't see the benefits of high refresh rate.
Well, I'm saying the variable.
The
variable
variable
goes down. Like they actually want it to go lower, so it can do 1 hertz, 1 refresh per second, so you get your second hand to properly be ticking.
Yeah, I wish Apple would give control to the user to manually force 120 hertz, but we know that's not going to happen.
You don't think so? You're
no way.
Right.
No way. Apple doesn't give you control. That's Apple having faith in their consumers to make a smart decision for themselves. Come on now. But I am excited. Like, jokes aside, I think it's going to be huge, especially since Apple has such powerful graphical processing. Like, mobile games could totally play at 120 FPS.
This would be bananas. I think this is the single feature I'm most excited for because it's going to be the most noticeable immediately. Like when you go from a 60 hertz phone to a 120 hertz phone, it's like night and day. It's so much smoother.
I mean, I've been telling people that for like years as a PC gamer. Like,
yeah.
like legit. Like I would talk to people. I'm like, dude, 120 hertz, or excuse me, 120 FPS or 120 hertz. Like, it's the way to go. Like it is genuinely life changing because like even the tiniest things like typing on your keyboard.
It's so smooth.
Like, well, the reason for that is because your phone is now doubling its work to pick up on like these inputs. So it's like everything is just boom, like butter. It's so nice.
Yeah.
And
do you think Apple will change the touch input layer? Because right now, I think their touch input layer is
120 hertz.
It's already at 120. Do you think they'll update that to be higher than the refresh rate? What do you think they'll go for?
240.
They'll bump it up to 240.
I think they double it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think OnePlus did that on their phone, so I think it would make sense. But the interesting thing is I'm not actually sure what Apple does with their iPad, and I don't know if they necessarily need to do it.
I don't know if they do it this iteration, but that's definitely something they would do because Samsung does the same thing where the year.
Got it. But yeah, I'm big excited on that, and that's probably my number one. You want to talk cameras? We've got new hardware rumors and new feature rumors for the cameras.
Yeah, why don't you hit me?
So let's do software. This is what most people are going to notice.
Oh, no. Stay away from. Oh, okay.
For the cameras.
Well, why don't we stay away from software for iOS?
Well, it's portrait mode for video. You see what I'm saying? It's like
okay,
video,
I get
it's like video processing. It's not really.
Okay, go ahead.
It's
then.
like using the new. Well, we didn't touch on the processor, but that's almost a given at this point. Apple's just going to take up the number from A14 Bionic that's currently in the iPhone 12 to A15 Bionic in the iPhone 12s, and this is going to enable better processing, faster processing. What is Apple going to use that for? Well, literally nothing for 90% of it. And then they're going to find that 10% use case is video, so you can now record videos in portrait mode. We'll have to see how good that is. I think with the Lidar sensor, it might not be terrible, but my concern is when Samsung did it. Have you used that feature on your phone, Dennis?
What's it again?
Portrait mode video?
I have not.
Did you know your phone had portrait mode video?
Probably. I mean, because Instagram does that same thing.
Yeah.
But like,
I don't know.
I don't post. I mean, Stetson, and to the audience that everybody knows, I don't really post a lot on social media. So like, to me, it does. It's just like, okay, like,
yeah.
But on the note of the cameras, you mentioned something. The Lidar sensor is supposed to be making its way across all models, and I think that is huge because Lidar, aside from the benefits they can do for photography, has other inherent benefits that third-party app developers could take advantage of. It could be basic stuff like room scaling and like measuring out a room with your camera, which I know sounds like super boring, but it's actually really useful.
Yeah.
To like AR apps getting like a lot more powerful, and I'm really excited about the Lidar making its way to everything because I know third-party developers are going to do some crazy stuff with it.
Right. I don't know. I've had Lidar in my iPhone 12. Honestly, haven't really used it. I actually found that the autofocus of the camera, despite having a depth sensing Lidar sensor, wasn't very good. But to your point, the room measurements were really cool, and it did work exceptionally well for like augmented reality tasks. And that kind of ties hand in hand with Apple getting ready to possibly launch or announce an augmented reality headset. So they probably want the Lidar sensor in the hands of developers to help them develop their apps and stuff.
How about another rumor that you might appreciate? The fact that it might come with a 1 terabyte model on the top phone.
I believe it. The iPad hit 1 terabyte. Is the iPad actually at 2 terabytes? It might be the iPad Pro. What is the screen resolution? Is it 12? I think it's 11 and a half, or is it 12 and a half? I think I think it's 12.9. The 12.9 inch iPad Pro 5G might go up to 2 terabytes.
I'm going to confirm that for you here in 2 seconds, but
thank you. I think yes, that iPhone will get 1 terabyte. Dennis, what's your take?
First, I just want to confirm, yes, iPad Pro does have a 2 terabyte model.
Yep. Okay.
But secondarily, I think it's possible, but like, what are your thoughts on that? Like,
well, okay, hear me out. So more storage. What are you going to do with more storage? Well, it's recording these portrait mode videos, but Apple might bring ProRes to video. And this is a file format that is not very compressed, so it takes up a lot of storage on the phone. But that makes the video footage really easy to edit. So I think they could go for a 1 terabyte model. Again, push it towards the pros with the new camera improvements, and I think that would make sense.
I think it's great that we're seeing it. I just can't fathom using a terabyte on my phone.
A terabyte on your phone? Yeah. What do I probably use? What do you use, Dennis? I'm at probably like 64 gigs is what I use.
I mean, my Galaxy S20 is a bad example because there's actually, believe it or not, there's actually software installed on the micro SD card that I had from when I used to work as a technician, for when I did like virus removal and stuff like that for people. So like, bad example, but I know that there's like probably 256 gigabytes worth of stuff on my S20.
Okay.
And that's like, again, stuff that is totally unrelated because Android actually lets you connect to a computer and do file transfers and stuff.
Right.
And then I think my 12 Pro Max might be like, I don't know, maybe like 128 gigabytes or something like that of usage out of like the 512 model that I have.
You got the 512 model?
Yeah.
I got baseline 64 gig models. They were great for my test phone, and my personal phone 128 is pretty good for me. But I think like I film a lot with my phone sometimes, and having that 256 is often what I consider the sweet spot.
Also, I just want to quickly say, as I'm looking at the chat, Mark, 100% agree. SD cards, those were the days. But yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. I'm more interested to see what that means for the baseline. Like, can we finally see a baseline iPhone come with 128 instead of 64 gigs?
So the iPhone 12 Pro currently comes with 128.
I'm talking about the 1212.
You're talking about baseline 1212. Do you think they'll do it? Like, what are your thoughts on this?
It's
They're not
Apple.
gonna do it.
It's Apple, so I know they probably won't. But
That
like,
stinks because like Pixel's doing that with their Pixel 5 and
dude, forget Pixel 5. Freaking budget $200 phones from Motorola are doing it. Like I really feel like Apple should be doing it because it's not that expensive to bump up the storage. But I know that they won't because it's just an excuse for them to sell you like a subscription to iCloud to offload all your photos, you know?
Yeah, hang on. I'm just checking something right now. Why can I want to get the storage capacity of Pixel 4a. It's 128 gigabytes. Oh my god.
128 is literally the norm in $200 phones.
You're so right, Dennis.
Like it's the same way when Apple was hard stuck on 16 gigs for like ever, right?
Those are not the good days. Those are the bad days.
And 64 gigabytes has become that, and it's like 64 gigabytes sounds like it would be a lot for a phone until you realize that like Facebook on iPhone is like 250 megabytes before you even start loading up all this other stuff in the cache, and then and then like you're taking these high res 4K pictures and stuff or videos.
Yeah, well, I mean it kind of goes both ways because the compression algorithm has actually gotten better for photos and videos with the new high efficiency video codec and the HEIC.
But think about how long people use their iPhone.
It's true. Yeah, if you're going for a long time. But dude, we know they're not going to do it.
And dude, you know the reason that Apple does that is because
so you upgrade to the next one.
They want. Dude, I guarantee you Apple probably prefers it if people buy the base storage and then buy an iCloud subscription.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right because the iCloud subscription, that'll get them into some other stuff. Maybe they'll get like an Apple Premiere subscription. So,
but
yeah. All right, that's kind of it for storage. I think two other things. So cameras, we're looking at possibly new megapixel counts here: 40 megapixel wide angle, 40 megapixel telephoto, and possibly a 40 megapixel anamorphic lens.
What's an anamorphic lens? Explain that to me.
It's just ultra wide. It's for video. If you see like a super wide aspect ratio video, it's typically on anamorphic. But I think it's just for an ultra wide angle is kind of what they mean.
I'm going to be honest, hot take here.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet you there's not going to be a distinguishable difference in photography between the current 12 Pro Max and whatever iPhone 12s has.
Yeah. It got like the photography got a lot better. I think it was noticeable 10s to 11. Going from 11 to 12, it was subtle, but still a little bit there, a little bit better HDR, I think. And going from 12 to 13. Oof. What do you think they're going to do with the sensor size? Because the iPhone 12 Pro Max got that bigger sensor. Is that going to remain a Pro Max exclusive?
Maybe.
He has no idea.
I mean,
Well,
they have to do something to make the Pro Max justifiable, but like, I'm just saying, like my hot take is this: like, when it comes to photos on a phone screen, I feel like if you took a photo on a phone that was 2 years old and a photo today, I'd be really hard pressed to tell a difference. Like, I'm being serious. I'd be real hard pressed to tell the difference. Actually, I don't even think anybody could tell the difference because, as we were talking about with compression, the thing that you're going to post it to is probably just going to compress it anyway, so it's going to look the exact same.
Yeah, slap a filter on there. I think there's only like certain scenarios where if you're shooting in a high contrast scene with the sun backlighting you or certain kind of edge cases like that, I think the extra dynamic range will be visible. But to your point, Dennis, for probably 90% of photos that are shared on social media, probably not going to make a difference. You throw a filter on there and you add some compression, and you've baked yourself up just a classic social media photo that looks pretty similar to all the other ones.
But I really want to talk about something that's more pressing to the channel, and that's Apple finally getting an updated modem.
Yeah. Dennis, what is happening with the modem? This is something I'm super excited about.
Yeah, so this year they're going to be getting the X60 5G modem, which is exciting because, if memory serves me correctly, it actually supports carrier aggregation for 5G standalone.
I think so. That might be because I think the S21 has it, and I think it's waiting on what, like a software update?
Firmware update, but yeah.
Firmware update, yeah.
So that'll be huge. Standalone 5G carrier ag, so say N41, N71 as an example. Also, just because, it's just a better modem overall, so we should be seeing, hopefully, too, like better battery, because it's not going to be like it should be more integrated, right? Like on the Snapdragon 888, it's integrated right on the SoC. It's not like a separate thing anymore. Yeah. And I'm sure Apple will do a similar thing instead of having like that big bulky chip that like consumes a ton of power. So
we'll see. I mean, I think it's different because Qualcomm's making the 888 and the X55, the X60, and with Apple, they're making their processor, the A15 Bionic. I don't know how integrated they can make the modem, but hopefully it is pretty close so it doesn't heat up too much. Do you think we'll see heat problems in the iPhone 13? I know that the S21 did have some heat issues with the X60
yeah, but that
modem.
That wasn't because of the X60 modem. That was more because of the Snapdragon 888 with that single core.
Oh, okay.
So no, I don't think there'll be heating problems. Although if there is, I mean, it also wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it's a phone, It's not like there's an RGB fan in there just cooling down everything. So, yeah. I mean.
Sick. All right, Dennis, what is one feature you're most excited about of everything we've covered? And will you upgrade?
No to probably upgrading. Unless there's a really good deal or I get it for free.
Like a trade-in deal?
Not a trade-in deal because I'm not going to do device financing. We went over that.
Yeah.
But so no to probably upgrading, and then feature I'm most excited about 120 hertz screen.
Yeah, I agree on the 120 hertz. I will upgrade because gotta do it for the channel, unboxing videos.
Well, you won't just upgrade; you'll buy like 6 of them.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But I'm really excited, and I think the 120 hertz will just be so noticeable. Like that phone is gonna fly. And running on this new phone is going to be iOS 15.
Now that deserves a proper discussion. Let's get into that.
Yeah.
So iOS 15 is doing some actually somewhat game-changing things for when it comes to iOS, in my opinion. I'm a big fan of the security enhancements that have been coming along with iOS 15.
Sweet. Yeah. What are we seeing with security? What's big?
Yeah, so like first off, they're forcing all app developers to really smack you in the face with what permissions they need and stuff like that.
I think that happened with iOS 14, I want to say .5. Like there was an update, so now like if you open Instagram, you got to pop up like ask app not to track, right? And I think Apple's taking that to the next level with iOS 15.
Yeah, but they're giving you like way more granular control. Like they're actually giving you like settings, so even if the app isn't playing ball, you,
Yeah,
the user, have control. Like when you go into your settings on your device on what you're gonna let different like client apps have.
exactly.
Safari is getting big improvements.
Yes. What's new with Safari, Dennis?
You should take the lead on this because you're the Apple Pro here with
Yeah.
us.
All right. Good call. Good call. So I think the biggest, most controversial change right now is the new tab bar design. Right now on mobile, the search bar is at the top, your tabs are at the top, but your thumb, when you're holding your phone, right, it's all the way at the bottom of the screen. So what Apple is doing is they moved the navigation bar to the bottom and made it a lot like the regular home bar, where you can actually swipe on the Safari URL bar basically to navigate between different open tabs you have. And it's right by the bottom of your phone. So you can tap on it to, type in a new URL and open your tabs and stuff. And there's going to be tab groups now where you can organize your tabs in different, like if you're researching, Dennis, let's say you're building a new PC, upgrading the Dennis base station, you can just make a group of tabs for PC parts or a group of tabs for a single component if you want to monitor different component prices for graphics cards or availability, things like that, kind of helping make research a little bit easier.
Yeah. I will just say I wish Apple would give the user the option to have the URL at the top or do the thing at the bottom. But
I've seen on Twitter, like this has actually caused some issues where on the bottom of the phone now, you have your navigation bar, your home bar, and you have the Safari bar. So let's say that's like an inch of screen real estate that's just gone. And some websites will put like buttons or options there. And like you can't tap them. Like there's no way to click on them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But that's cool. But I'll tell you one that actually has me really excited. It's the update on like the customized home screen where I can have like I can have one for when I'm in work mode, right? And just have like my work apps on there. That way I'm not getting distracted. And then as soon as I hit like go home or hit a time, it'll just load up a different screen. Like that is super sweet. Like,
I'd say actually Apple's doing this a little bit better than Android right now. And forgive me if you can already do this on Android. I'm not aware of this right now. But Apple's calling this focus mode, right? And Dennis, to your point, you literally set up different modes. Maybe you have one for work, one for going to the gym and working out, one for being at home and relaxing, or maybe one for the weekend, right? Where, you have different pages, social media apps for your weekend. Maybe you've got, you come home and you're relaxing. You've got your streaming apps, YouTube, HBO Max, things like that on your page. And during your workday, maybe you've got your calendar, Slack, reminders, Todoist, things like that on your page. And Apple has made it so your iPhone can either based on your location, time of day, or even if you're driving, set the different home screens for you with those apps. And you can customize exactly which apps can provide notifications.
And on this continued theme of like game changing things that I really took away from, how about we talk about the fact that now with pictures you can capture like text, like a static images text, and just convert it into like something you could copy and paste into your notes.
Unreal.
That is actually massive. Like,
yeah. Have you been using this on Android for a while?
It was a feature back in the Note days that I remember, but it's
in Google Lens. Google Lens can do this.
But it at least when I tried it back on like Note 4 days, it didn't work as well as being appeared with like Apple. You know what I mean?
Sure. So yeah, I'm big excited for that. Focus mode is huge for me. I've been crying for this. Like, I frequently will get like texts and stuff. Like, I need calendar alerts and reminders, but I want everything else silenced, and I haven't been able to figure out how to do that because, like, if the phone is on, then I'll get pinged with like email and stuff or other alerts, like that I want to go through, but I just don't want them while I'm working, and so I'm big excited on that.
Hey Stetson, I got a hot question for you.
Yeah.
You get a lot of spam text and or calls?
Oh, yeah. Spam text. I think I'm getting more spam texts now than I am calls.
All right. How about the fact that I added SMS filtering?
Yes.
That's a godsend. That is a godsend because let me just tell you, man, my T-Mobile numbers are always the ones that get hit with all that junk.
It's
always.
Unreal. It's
always.
Unreal.
So that is pretty dope. And also, I know I'm jumping all over the place with features, but Outside of that, how about the fact they're letting you use like an alias email and stuff like that now?
That is really cool. Yeah, so that's part of their, this is almost jumping back to the beginning where you're talking about privacy, right? This is part of their privacy initiative, and you can sign in with Apple, and they're using iCloud Private Relay, and you can hide your email. Well, Apple will fill in a junk email. Their example on their site is blue126_cat@icloud.com. That email address will forward to your actual email address. So if you want to cancel stuff, super easy to cancel those subscriptions. And then iCloud Private Relay, this ties into Safari. It's basically Apple just built in a VPN to Safari, like straight up.
But before we talk about that VPN, I want to talk about something important of why the alias email thing is bigger than you're giving it credit for.
Yeah, I honestly had no idea. I was like, okay, cool. Like, I don't know if I'll even use this.
Well, you should.
Why is this so important, Dennis?
All right, so look. Let's just say you sign up for Netflix, okay?
Yeah.
And Netflix has a data breach. Hackers get a hold of, your email, the password that you used, your name, and all kinds of other good stuff like that, right? Well, 9 times out of 10, your typical American uses the same password across multiple sites, and that email is typically the thing linking you to the multiple sites. So hacker Dennis now doesn't just have access to Netflix, but I can go around testing your Facebook, testing your Instagram, texting whatever else I want to test, because that's probably the email that you used. Well, with alias, if I used an alias email for Netflix, I don't have your email. I'm missing that proponent. So even if I have your password, I'm still missing the main proponent of what I need to do my hacking. And obviously, you as a proper good online person shouldn't be using the same password, but this is just an extra layer of adding confusion so you can keep your email reserved for only the most important things like your bank, a recovery email for, say, X, Y, and Z important thing, and just use the alias one as junk, or have multiple alias ones,
Yeah. Wow, Dennis, that's a really great point. Maybe I will switch that up, start trying to use that when it goes live with iOS 15.
And I will just say the alias thing isn't exclusive. As someone mentioned, Gmail allows you to do something similar. But as with all things in life, for the average populace, Apple tends to be the one that makes it a norm.
Yeah. It's true. It's so true. What else? I want to jump back actually to the Messages app. There were some cool features there that we kind of glanced over, I think will be really nice. And it's when you send photos now, let's say, Dennis, you go out, you do speed testing. You're like, oh my God, Stetson, look at this beautiful N41. Like, I finally found a pocket. Or maybe you're at a millimeter wave site and you're screenshotting like, boom, over a gigabit per second. And you have like 10 photos you want to send me and you send them all at once. You know what happens, Dennis, when you do that? You get like a string. It goes whoop, 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 whoop. You get a scroll length of texts.
Right.
Apple, iOS 15, they're putting those in an album. So when you send a bunch of images, it's just a nice photo album. You tap it, you open it up, you can peruse the images, and you can save the ones you like. So that's really nice. And the other big thing is, Dennis, we have a chat going on where we link each other articles back and forth. Apple is making it. So now, let's say you like to use the Google News app. I like to use the Google News app. If I'm in, like, you share an article with me, the next time I'm in the Google News app, Google will have this option to display, hey, your friend Dennis shared this with you. Here's this article if you want to check it out.
That is so dope.
Yeah.
And I will just say, as we continue to talk about this, something that I think you're going to notice is that everything we're talking about are small changes that are like common sense, but they have a massive impact on your usability within iOS. And I'm just really, really ecstatic. But we've been talking about a lot of here's what's coming. Why don't we talk about our wish list? What's missing that Apple should be doing, either in iOS as a whole or just with iPhones in general?
Well, Dennis, the biggest thing for me was honestly the focus mode. Like, I have been crying for that for years. And so now that it's here, I'm like, do I need to upgrade after this? Am I all set?
I got one that's easy for you.
Yeah, what's one that I definitely need?
RCS.
Oh, as I said that, I knew it was going to be RCS.
Yeah, that needs to happen like yesterday. Because realistically speaking, carriers aren't going to keep supporting SMS text forever. Like, there's going to be a shutoff window for SMS where we move into RCS, and that needs to happen. Also, I will just say this. Apple needs to stop being all like exclusive when it comes to their apps. Like when they made these changes to FaceTime, for example, I hate that you have to be an Apple user to start the FaceTime convo. Just make FaceTime video like an everybody thing.
Dennis, yeah. I mean, but that's the whole draw to iPhone.
I mean, you can still have iMessage be exclusive and not FaceTime be the...
Yeah. Well, they're opening up. Like, what did you think of them opening up FaceTime? So now I can schedule a FaceTime call and send you a link, and anyone can join. iPhone, iOS, Android.
I
PC
think they
users.
did it in the most backwards, difficult way possible from a usability standpoint, which Apple, with their whole, easy user experience, did not follow when it came to that rollout.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it is a little interesting that, like, Google Duo, for example, it's baked into some phones. Samsung, I think, actually had a pretty close partnership with that. And you can get it on iPhone. Like, it could be the perfect, video calling app. But the problem is FaceTime is just built into iPhone, and we all use that.
Well, I'll give you another one. Give me more control of setting up default apps. Make it so that like if I don't like iMessage and I want WhatsApp to be my default because that's what's popular pretty much everywhere that isn't the US, let it be the default like you can on Android. Same thing with the Mail app, right? If I don't want to use Apple's, no offense.
You can do that already. You can set defaults.
Yeah, but it's not like the way on Android. Like on Android, when I set a default app, it gets full like integration, if you get what I'm saying. Apple still has it where it's like this like second class citizen experience when you try to make, say, a WhatsApp your default messenger.
Yeah, it's true. And I will say it would be really cool to have a new default like SMS app or something like that. Like if you wanted to use Signal and start messaging everyone through that, if you wanted to be really extra focused on privacy and security and things like that. But yeah, and what's funny is to your point about RCS, like Apple supporting SMS is making other phones less secure and like making their iPhone less secure because it's just a less secure form of communication.
But also on this continued talk of things that I want.
Yeah.
I want Apple to put a bigger emphasis just in general of playing nicer with other devices that aren't Apple. And I don't just mean this in a communication sense, but I'm talking about like smart home products.
Sure.
Like Apple iPhone just does not work well at all with smart home products. Like my LG smart fridge, my LG smart washer, my security system. Apple is garbage at working with these things.
Oh,
garbage.
Really?
Garbage.
I've had the opposite experience where Philips Hue is my primary light source, and it works with HomeKit, and it like Siri is actually better at controlling my lights than anything else. Like it's the fastest. When I tell Siri to do something, it's almost immediate.
It's because you haven't used Android. Like
no, I have used Android. I use my Google Assistant all the time, and it's so much slower. But Siri is also so much worse at responding that I never use it anyway.
Okay, well let me give you an example of what I mean by it being garbage, okay?
Yeah.
On an iPhone, if you want to use my LG smart fridge and LG smart washer and dryer, you have to download LG's app to manage things through.
Okay.
On Android, it could just all natively integrate by me simply scanning a QR code into Samsung's smart manager, whatever the heck they call it.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't need to download the third-party app. I mean, I still need to download.
Different.
I mean, I still need to download the app if I want like all the functionality. But like if I want basic stuff like changing the temperature on the fridge, I could just do it in a simple manner. Or, and you'll notice I put this in the doc, Huawei, they're working on something called Harmony OS. But one of the things that they've been working on is like this bolt-on. It doesn't necessarily replace Android entirely, but one of the key things is, and it's solved the problem in China, is working with a bunch of Internet of Things devices, because in China, the average Chinese person has something like 25 devices, something wild. And basically what they allow you to do is you scan a QR code, and it basically loads up almost like a web page almost. It's almost like you would with like a URL. No app required, and it gives you like limited functionality control of like specific devices, whether it's a smart toaster or whatever the thing is, right? And Google's doing that to a certain extent here in the US. Apple doesn't have anything that's like it. It's still like, here's your separate apps that you have to download. There's not this like, I want to get away from us having to download 1,000 different apps that I have for my different smart devices.
Like, are your devices not compatible with the Apple Home app? Like, are they not HomeKit compatible?
I
Like,
mean,
I've got everything right here. I've got my TV, my lights, my like everything.
it could be that, but to play devil's advocate, I don't blame the device maker for not being compatible with Apple HomeKit. I blame Apple for not playing nice with the third-party apps. You get what I'm saying?
I don't know. Like, Apple made their certification standards, and I would say like the reason my experience with Hue has been so good, I think, is because Apple's standards are so high for their products. But to your point, it is harder for people to make products and things like that.
I mean, look. Here's the thing, though. Right? Like, my smartphone is supposed to be my center for everything, right?
Yeah.
So when I add a device into my life, I don't look at the device and be like, why aren't you working with my smartphone? I look at my smartphone and being like, why are you, Apple, purposely not playing nice? In the same, okay, I'll give you a really, really simple example, okay? On my Windows computer, you know one of my favorite things to do is share my phone with my computer and type to you using my keyboard.
That is the best, 100%.
Apple doesn't do that. And
They
we
don't do it
can't
for
say
PC.
and we can't say Windows isn't a massive platform when it literally has a glorified monopoly market share on the global PC market, okay?
It's true.
That's
It's true.
Apple being Apple and not playing nice with others. And the same way that Apple killed iTunes on PC. Right?
Yeah, I think, to be fair, they kind of killed iTunes for everyone.
But I'm saying they don't have a connected, like, they don't, like, you can't say, like, why isn't Windows developing something from Apple? Like, Apple should be the one that's, like, saying, like, okay, I'm going to play nice with your computer so you have a seamless experience across all of your devices.
I mean,
Apple doesn't
I'll
do
give
that.
you the Windows one. I mean, Apple. That's just Apple, like, creating their walled garden. Like, can you? I guess you kind of can do Android messages because they use a browser, so it kind of works. But it's not working natively on device.
No,
but I think
with
HomeKit
the computer thing, it's native with Samsung Messenger. Like, I literally, like, when I pull up my screen, not only...
Yeah, you link it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I disagree on the HomeKit, though. Like, Apple has open standards that anyone can use, and it's just the manufacturers, like, realizing the standards are ridiculous or too rigorous or whatever and not doing it. So I don't know. Like, Google is definitely better because you can, like, it's easier to develop for. Same with Alexa, like, way easier to build and develop for.
Yeah, but okay, your argument is they have an open source, but you just said if the developers aren't doing it because too rigorous or whatever. At the end of the day, I, the end user, don't care. Because at the end of the day, my thing that I want to use
do you
is...
want it to work?
Well, that's my point. I just want it to work. I don't care what the standards
my
are.
point is that if it doesn't hit those standards, then sometimes it doesn't work. Like, I have a Govee light that's only on Google, and it's freaking so slow to respond, to turn on, to turn off, to change color. And, with Apple, as much as it's closed box, I feel it does work consistently, reliably, and it gets the job done. And for
Also,
my iPhone,
left-
it's integrated in my control center. Like, boom, I've got all my lights right there.
Also, left for ya made a comment that I want to address. He said there's so many different smart device standards, though, and they change every couple years. Left, I agree with you. This is why Apple trying to make their own standard everybody has to follow is bad, because there are universal standards that are already in place that Apple could adopt as a baseline minimum in the same way that Apple has iMessage, but also have SMS. Apple will be doing the same thing with HomeKit. They could have HomeKit and some universal thing that they follow because that's what the rest of the industry uses, instead of Apple being hard-headed like they are with Lightning, for example. Like, everybody uses USB Type-C except Apple.
This is true. I'm definitely bummed about that. But Apple's actually now working with Matter. And that's what they're using for their home communication standards. And my understanding is it's more open and should be easier to develop for. And anything that works with Matter will work with Apple.
That is exciting. I'm glad.
Yeah, and that is exactly what Left is saying. So, yeah, so I think we're moving in that direction. And Dennis, I'm sorry that your laundry machines and your refrigerator.
Oh, I don't,
working.
dude. To be clear, I don't care. My Android phone is the main thing I use anyway. I'm just saying. If we're talking about what I want to see from Apple, I want to see them stop sticking their nose up at playing nice with other devices. We get into this more interconnected, level of devices. When, like, legit, even my coffee machine is a smart coffee machine. So, like, like, I just want to see Apple come with the times. Like, stop making this walled garden, unless Apple plans to make an Apple branded coffee machine that I don't know about. But even then, I probably wouldn't buy it because then it would probably only work. It would probably have their M1 chip and only work with Apple iPhone. So
True. All right. I got one. This one's basic, but really frustrating. I just want to be able to put apps anywhere on the home screen. It's time.
ooh, yes.
I'm putting my stick down. It's time. I want to be able to do that. So,
dude, I got another one for you.
yeah, what else? I feel
How about
yeah.
How about more control or forcing like LTE and like 5G connections and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean you can kind of do that, but
Well,
you're
you could do 5G always on, and you could do like LTE, but like depending on what carrier you're connecting to, and you go to settings, like it's like it'll be like 5G, 4G, 3G, or like LTE, 3G. 4. You can't
you
force
want,
like a
band selection.
not band selection, but I want to be able to be like 5G only, 4G only, 3G only, 2G only, 1G only. It doesn't really matter right now because 3G shutdown's happening.
Yeah.
But going forward, I would like that level of control because that doesn't really necessarily exist. Like you could for example, if I wanted to force a 5G connection, right?
Yeah. You turn it on and then you just like pray.
Right, and that's the problem. Like, I want to be able to turn off LTE as an example, so I can force a 5G connection if N41, for example, was in my area working proper.
Yeah.
Which is something I can do on Samsung.
Yeah, I mean that would be nice. I'm just imagining like the tech support problems, like, oh, I don't have coverage. It's like, well, did you turn LTE on? Like, are you on 5G only right now?
I mean, you could do some type of developer mode.
That would be sick. Yeah, 100% agree with you. I want give me a toggle. I want all the pro features. I can handle it. I'm ready to dive in. I'm not my grandma.
I mean, and dude, if you want to make it extra hard to do what Android does, we have to tap the firmware version 5 times to unlock developer mode.
Thankfully, that's actually pretty easy to do, and I really appreciate that.
But I'm just saying, like, it's not something your average Joe would do.
Right, yeah. Oh, God, I have so many issues. It's crazy. I think that's honestly, I'm mostly happy with it. There's a bunch of improvements to the notifications as well. You now get a summary view and notification grouping. And there's some other things with FaceTime, spatial audio, grid view, portrait mode, things like that. But I think honestly, Dennis, the biggest feature I am happiest about with iOS 15 is the supported devices. This update is going all the way back to the iPhone 6S. Even further, iPhone SE,
first generation.
That's 7 years. 7 years of devices are getting this update.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth because I was just about to say, even though I just ragged on Apple for a second, I got to give them kudos where kudos is due. I'm very proud of them for supporting as long back as they have, and I can honestly say that I think everybody listening to this can walk away saying overall this is a net positive for all of the Apple users out there.
I mean, I will say there's some features that won't be coming to the older devices,
like the Animoji,
the text selection in photos. Like Apple needs the faster processors to be able to do that. But otherwise, I think this is a huge win, and I don't think there's any other manufacturer that can say they've offered 7 years of updates for a phone.
There is zero. So that's why I'm really proud of Apple for that.
They're doing one thing right. And yeah, it's honestly astounding. So,
but do you want to call and do that thing that I was talking about?
Yeah, let's wrap up this podcast. Thank you all for joining. We had Mark, we had left on for you. Hector Hernandez chilling in the live stream, and Green was here as well. So thank you all for joining our exclusive live recording. If you're interested in watching the Best Phone Plans podcast live and getting early access and an ad-free viewing experience, consider supporting us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/StetsonDoggett. You get extra features, perks, and benefits, behind-the-scenes video, access to the ultimate cell phone plan comparison chart, and of course these weekly live streams and a monthly Patreon exclusive live stream. So tons to enjoy there. Again, consider supporting us. If not, feel free to just click that like button as the next best way to support us. We truly appreciate it. Dennis, any other final words, remarks?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for watching. As always, it's always fun. As Stetson said, make sure you're smashing that like button, but also don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell notification so you don't miss any uploads. For example, Stetson and I are going to actually be doing a surprise one right after this show. And as he mentioned, become a member of the Patreon. Stetson actually did a fantastic behind the scenes video of his experience signing up for AT&T, which I thought was just on the nose hilarious. He also has some classic bloopers that I really enjoy. So you should definitely become a member so you can enjoy that and talk to us on the Discord. Always good seeing your friendly faces and getting to chat. But as always, guys, we're peacing out. See you next week.
Peace, everyone.